everybody. Give this a minute to load up. Give everybody a chance to come on. It's a rainy Tuesday afternoon out there. I keep looking up at the skies, wondering when this rain's gonna clear. I don't know where you guys are in Canada or around the world, but here it's been a lot of rain, a lot of hail. It's just the most incredible year I've ever experienced in my life. I'm sure all of you out there are feeling the same way. Okay guys, so you're gonna notice that the title of this video is a little bit different. Or maybe it's not the title, it's just the description. I don't know. Anyway, I need to do things a little bit differently today because I need to speak to everybody. Here's the thing, you guys. The messages that are coming from Spirit right now all seem to be kind of converging into around the same message, that there's an enormous amount of people that just are trying to understand. We're all just trying to understand. This is affecting each one of our lives a little bit differently, depending on where we are in our emotional growth and how much you are able to actually work your way through the cognitive dissonance, etc., etc. And it's affecting every single person's life right now in other ways. Even people who tend not to believe in this stuff, you can't help believe that there is something bigger going on here when the entire world is shut down in a way that it never has before, where our lives are completely disrupted in ways like with everything, like the riots, the pandemic, the politics, all of it. So in order to help you guys, I was instructed by my guides today to sit down and kind of help you guys understand, in order to help you understand exactly what's going on and in your own lives, I kind of have to explain to you how I got here in my life. So whether I like it or not, you're going to get some personal information about my past and whatnot. But it's the only way that you can actually understand why I so firmly believe what I believe right now, and why I don't care if anybody out there does not believe this right now or not. I'm still going to get up here and talk to you guys and tell you what I know, and I'm not afraid. And I'm not afraid because this is not the first time in my life that reality tells me one thing, but I see the other, and I'm always right. I've been always right every single time about these spiritual things. So anyway, if you're a member of the THM Club and you were hoping to get a message this week, please don't worry that if you're not getting a personal message, I will, if you're upset about it or your membership's about to expire or something, I'll give you a free week on this, because I probably won't be taking calls today, because I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to everything that I have to say today, because I think that if you can find a way to apply it to your own life, this wisdom, then and start knowing where to look to find the truth, that you are going to, this is going to help you more than any kind of personal reading actually could. Because all of your loved ones, guys, are saying the same thing. So here's the thing. As a lot of you know, I was a single mom since I was 17, came from an abusive household. My mom had a brain aneurysm when I was 16 and pregnant with my first child. But she lived. And she's probably watching this right now. Hi, Mom, love you. But she lived, but she now has a brain injury. So she doesn't quite, it's hard for me to explain that part of it. Anyway, she has a brain injury, but there was a lot of childhood abuse there that I was not able to process with her before she actually had this brain injury, whatnot. I go out on my own, in my own world, in my own life. And I experienced a lot of hardship. After she had that brain injury, she was with a stepfather. She and he separated. I was on my own with a baby. My mom's over here with a brain injury. Family is all in Ontario. I was completely alone. I had moved back to Ontario to be with my grandparents for a little while after that had happened when my son was about 2, just wanting family, like help, to feel some kind of safety. And my grandfather died. And my grandmother, I realized, was very bitter about my mom taking us away from there when we were just young. And she wasn't the loving grandma that I remembered. She was very bitter, and I loved her very much. And it's kind of awkward, that relationship. But anyway, long story short here. I ended up leaving Ontario again with that realization and coming out to Alberta. And I had hired a moving company to take all my stuff and my son's stuff from Ontario to Alberta. And when I got out here, it was one misfortune after another, after another, after another. I was lied to by some friends who told me I could stay with them for a little while, and then I wasn't able to stay there. So I had nowhere to put my stuff, even if I took it off of the truck that had brought all my stuff here. I had no actual house of my own. My son and I were homeless, literally couch surfing on people's couches. And so the moving company that had brought all my stuff out here, it had all my baby pictures of my son, my baby blanket from when I was my baby bear from when I was a child, the most precious items that aren't worth anything but are the most precious to you. And anyway, so I had worked out a deal with the owner of that moving company because, me being me, I don't take no for an answer, right? So I called up that moving company and I was like, listen, I'm homeless, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get my stuff back. I will work for you for free until I work off that bill. I don't care. Like, can we work something out? And so he agreed to work something out with me. And I ended up working for him in the office that was in the basement of his house. Through the process of working for this man, and you can go back because this is in the newspaper at some point, so you can validate or verify this story if you really want to. It was in the Calgary Sun, the Herald, a couple of places. Anyway, so in the course of working down there, I found a huge amount of child pornography on his computer. Little boys, especially little boys. And I saw them in pictures with people in business suits and I was very young. My son was only 4 or 5 at the time, so I was maybe 20, 21. I didn't know who any of these people were, but I was extraordinarily horrified. And his wife, actually, the wife of this guy, was babysitting my son upstairs while I worked in his house office downstairs. So when I saw this, I was devastated. I grabbed my son. I left. I didn't get another paycheck from him. I called the police immediately as soon as I got home and told them of everything that was on this man's computer. And these police sat there and told me so it was none of my business, that I could be charged for looking in places on the computer that I wasn't supposed to be going to. They basically threatened me and told me to focus on my own self and don't worry about that. I was so horrified. I picked up the phone and I called the local TV station and I was like, are you kidding me? This man lived like 2 blocks away from a school. So, and he had his own children. And so anyway, so when I called the media, well then, bam, it was like taken care of in a heartbeat. All of a sudden, there was all these media at my door and there was police there and they went and they raided this man's house and they found the biggest seizure of child pornography in Alberta's history at the time. His name was David something or other. I can't remember his name. But this gives you a time frame. This would have been, my son was born in 93, so 97, 98, somewhere in there. And anyway, so here's the thing, that all this went down and he still had my stuff. He still had my pictures, my son's baby stuff, my baby stuff. He had the most important things in the world to me, and I had just put him in jail. I was going through the hardest time of my entire life, and all of a sudden, the first time I heard God in my head. I don't know any other way to explain it to you. It was God, because I heard this voice that I will never forget. I heard it with my own ears, but outside of my head is the only way I can describe it. And it was so loud that it sent shivers up and down my spine. And this voice told me, actually asked me, it kind of gave me a flash of this life and told me that I had the ability to be able to help a lot of people someday. That if I chose to follow the voice and do good always, to follow my heart, that they would never ask me to do anything that was illegal or gross or horrible in any way, shape, or form that went against my morals, but that if I always followed my heart, no matter what, even if society told me was wrong, and that was specified to me, not only even, especially if society told me something was wrong, but my heart told me it was right, I was supposed to do it and believe it and not listen to anybody else. So I did. Well, hold on. Before I say so I did, it wasn't just quite, oh, okay, I believe you. No, first of all, I could feel the presence so strong that I ended up running to my room and under the covers, like shaking, because I'm looking around going, okay, I'm losing my freaking mind, and they're gonna lock me up in the loony asylum very soon. But this voice told me not to be afraid, like I said, gave me the options, and basically said you can do really good things in this world if you follow me, if you follow your heart. And I had asked it, I said, okay, well, how do I know that, first of all, how long am I going to have to live in struggle, so to speak, for this to happen? And he had told me about 20-something years. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, is anybody that I love going to be getting hurt? You know, I asked all those kinds of questions. I was promised nobody I loved would die, that people were going to hurt, but they were going to heal afterwards as well. And it was through the healing, that my learning to develop that healing, that I was going to be able to help other people. Now, please understand, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I thought maybe they were talking about abuse, because like physical abuse and sexual abuse, because I was trying to heal from those things in my own life. I hadn't found healing from those things yet, but I was trying. So I thought maybe that's what he was talking about. But I agreed. I was like, yes, if I have the chance to, save or help hundreds or thousands of lives, I'm willing to walk through some struggle for the next 20 years. I don't want to lose my children. Don't kill off any of my children. I ain't signing them over. But I'm willing, I don't know, call that a martyr, whatever. But I said, I need some proof. And I can't, they've told me I'm crazy for too long, that I can't tell anybody about this conversation unless you give me some proof here. So the voice told me that he knew I was going to bingo the next day with a friend of mine. That was our thing. Once a month we would go to bingo. And he knew that I was going to bingo that day, and that I needed money to pay a phone bill at that time. I just remember the phone bill was about $180 or something like that, which is a lot of money back in 1998. But anyway, so they told me that I was supposed to, or the voice told me that he knew I was going to bingo, and that he knew that I had this bill that needed to be paid. So he said that if I trusted in this and I go to sleep and I just believe that the next day we would win at bingo, enough that I would be able to pay that bill and maybe, buy myself a pack of smokes and get a jug of milk or something. I smoked at the time. I don't anymore. But anyway, so I was like, all right. And then I said, well, how am I going to know when the struggle is over? How am I going to know? And he looked around and he's like, when your house is totally clean and you are in a state of peace and happiness, then I will be back and you'll feel it and you will know. And the reason why he said when my house was totally clean is because I struggled with, I was borderline a hoarder the first 10 years I was on my own, because I had grown up kind of like a slave. So when I got out on my own, I was like, you know what? No one's telling me what to do. I won't clean if I don't want to clean. And I just closed my door and didn't have people over. But it bothered me because then I secluded myself, you see. Anyway, long story short, we went to bingo the next day and we won. I say we because it was my friend and I. We hit the very last game possible, the bonanza. She won like just over $400, split between the both of us was just over $200, which got me exactly enough to pay that bill, a pack of smokes, and a jug of milk. So from that day on, I started listening to my heart, and always my heart. And when I would feel that something was right, I didn't care what they told me. I knew this was right. I followed and I listened. And so when this all happened with my boss and he had my stuff, I went to the police even and I tried to get it back. And I'm like, there's got to be some law. Like, he's got it. Like, I worked there for 4 months and, you know, he just kept upping the price. He kept charging interest on how long my stuff sat in the storage room and stuff, right? So the police told me by law, unless I paid him that $800 or whatever dollars that the bill had like worked its way up to at this point, that there was nothing they could do. They couldn't force him to give me that stuff back. And to just, that, you know, I can't even tell you how many times I can still see it in my head, that officer that came and sat in my house, in my kitchen, and told me, Tracy, you better write that off. You ain't never going to see that. He's probably burned it by now. There's nothing we can do. Yeah, right. So anyway, this finally goes to court. And the day before court, his wife rang me up. And she told me that she had been being abused by this man for a long time. That both her and her children had been being abused, and she was too afraid to say anything. And that when I had told the police, it freed her, and it freed her children because now he was in jail. She said, Tracy, I know where your stuff is, and I have the key. After court tomorrow, I want you to meet me at the storage yard, and I'm going to get you your stuff back. And she did. And, you know, that was the beginning. I told you guys all that story because that was the very beginning of me following my heart and listening to God, my gods, whoever it is, all of the above, so to speak, and never going with the flow of what society told me, because society has always, in my experience, I've received so many experiences of just, honestly, the best way to describe it is attacks. It felt like a spiritual attack after spiritual attack after spiritual attack. And I know so many of you who have called in for private readings, who are part of the THM Club, who are just listening right now, who have felt this way your entire life. You start to get a little bit ahead and then bam, 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 life just knocks you right the frick down. And I was a single mom by myself, trying to make it in the world, and I just got knocked down over and over and over and over and over again. But you know what? I didn't listen. I kept going. I kept climbing my way back up. And eventually, through all the noise of everybody telling me I'm crazy and whatnot, I found the THM Club. I found the free readings. I found my ability to communicate with that and to understand the language of spirit and your guides and God all around us, because that's what it is, you guys. It's God. There is a good and a negative energies that are all around us. It is a spiritual war. The people that know me in my personal life know that for a long time I have been receiving messages that have been telling me that there is a great war going on between good and evil. I just didn't know how big this was. I had no idea how right I was. Here's some facts. So now that you have a base of understanding of how I got here, okay, I want you to take that, and now I want to give you guys a second. I'm going to take a drink. My lips need wetting here. And I want you guys to get a pen and a paper together right now. I know it's old school, but hey, that's how I roll. If I could do the tech thing, I'd be taking you through and putting it on the screen right now so I could take you through all of this exactly, but I can't. So run, grab a paper and pen right now because you need to write this down. I'm going to give you some links. I'm going to give you some names. I'm going to give you some information that you can start looking up. Because today we're going to talk about something that is going to happen very soon, whether you believe or not. I believe. Because not only did God tell me many years ago that this was coming, it's happening all around us. And now every single night I'm dreaming about it. And my dreams are becoming louder and louder and louder. And today I was told that I'm not supposed to be doing messages. I'm supposed to be doing this message. Because what is coming, everybody is trying to understand what is happening and what is coming. So I've been told that I've been put in this position as like a shepherd to help the sheep. Not that I'm calling you guys a sheep, but I was a sheep too. Anybody that has believed the agenda and the knowledge that we've been given in the old world was living as, in essence, a sheep. Those of us who know the truth, and if you are somebody that knows the truth now, you're a shepherd now. It's time to go out in the world and start telling people this information. Do not be afraid of them calling you crazy, because there is more of us that understand what's going on than there is them, and we're backed up by facts. Okay, there is facts, and not just that, but this is going to happen in the next, couple of weeks, whether people want to believe it or not. It's kind of like COVID. I was telling everybody something big was happening. This was coming before COVID hit. Nobody believed me. Well, not that nobody believed me. Even the people that knew me were like, oh, okay, you've been saying this for a while, and then bam, this all hits. So, and it's funny because my message last night from my guides before I went to sleep was that there's going to be a time for I told you so's, Tracy. And I had said to my guides, no, I'm not interested in I told you so's. That doesn't make me feel better. And they said, but you need to be interested in I told you so's, because this is only the first of 3 downloads that are coming. I don't know exactly what that means, other than this is the first. Well, let me explain. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And the voice said, well, when everything you're describing comes to light, then we're going to start preparing humanity for the next truth that they have to absorb. And they're going to look to you, Tracy, because you were right about the last thing. So you need to make sure that you get up here and say, look, I was right. So this is foreign territory for me. I have to be honest, this is not usually my thing where I jump up and go, told you so, but I guess we'll see. In this sense, I got to be honest, I won't mind to say I told you so if we're literally moving into the world that I've been shown, which I'm going to explain to you right now, then wow, then I don't mind saying I told you so. Okay. So now that you understand all of that and how I've been listening and guided by that voice all along, then I want to take you back to quickly about 10 years ago, not even 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I started being called, felt this calling, this uncontrollable urge that I was not able to resist, irresistible urge, I guess you could call it, to start learning politics and finance and the banking structures. And, I found myself going on the stock market and trying to just understand, because I don't understand anything in that world. I really don't. I hardly understand technology half the time. Anyways, and I found it almost impossible not to. And I was so confused. I remember even calling my counselor that I had not seen in many years, going, what is wrong with me? I'm just compulsive. I can't stop binging on politics. Who binges on politics? Like literally, then I thought I was crazy. But, now I see why. Because in order to understand what is going on now, you have to understand the history of banking, okay? So this is where I say, start writing this stuff down. So in order to understand what's going on right now, you have to look up the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada, for example, to find out that they're not actually owned by the countries. They're not actually part of the countries. They're owned by like the Rothschild, who came in and lent a bunch of money to us, which is why we have interest and all that confusing stuff that is criminal. It's absolutely criminal. It took me a long time to really understand. I've been talking to you guys about Nesara and Gesara and how they're going to pay off all the debt and they're going to bring in all this technology and stuff, right? And I know I lost to some of you because you guys are like, how does that make sense? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Well, I did a lot of studying, a lot of reading over the last couple of days, you guys, and I'm probably going to butcher this story, but I want you to go and look it up for yourselves. There's so many of you that understand this world even better than I do. You will understand this language even better, and this will help you. I promise. So here's the thing. Our birth certificates. Let's talk about our birth certificates for a minute, okay? We think that there's no big deal we don't even question it. We're born, we send a birth certificate, right? Now, because I don't totally understand the language, like I said, I might butcher the way I'm describing the story, but in essence, you're going to get the essence of this, okay? So in essence, what happens is the way that they have, okay, let me back up a little bit. The truth is that our ancestors for thousands of years have been mining gold that is stashed in different deposits and places all over the world that are also with the royal family, the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, the most celebrities, the richest people who currently are all being arrested and rounded up as we speak. They are being arrested and rounded up. Ellen DeGeneres has just been canceled. Oprah has been canceled. Jimmy Kimmel has been canceled. These shows, Tom Hanks, guys, he hasn't tweeted or done anything in like at least a month. There's so many of them right now that are being rounded up. And I'm getting lost here because they make me sick. They make me so sick now that my brain just gets over here. Anyway, stay on track, Tracy. The reality is that when we are born, we have a trust of gold. There is so much gold and wealth. Oh, that's why I was telling you about the celebrity. So all these celebrities are being rounded up. So Trump wrote an executive order saying that if you are charged or with any kind of crimes against humanity or genocide, major crimes against children, anything like that, that all of your assets get seized. You guys can go and look up this stuff. Look up qmap.pub. qmap.pub. Look that up because on there, whether you believe in Q or not, there is a section on there that has all of the executive orders that Trump has written since he's taken office, pretty much. And you can look up every single one. He wrote executive orders in there that basically what they do is if you're charged with those kind of crimes, they take all of your assets, all of your money, and they give it back to the victims while you go to jail or, executed, whatever comes first, whatever they deem is your punishment. I think if you've ever hurt a child, you're automatically, I don't know exactly how that goes, but I do know that they've taken their wealth. So between all of their wealth, because all of these bad guys are being rounded up, between taking all of their wealth and then look up the story of the gold in Philippines, that story is huge. Look up a girl named Karen Hughes. I'm probably spelling or saying that wrong. Hudes, I believe is how you spell her name. She's a financial expert that used to work high up in the banking world and has been speaking out about this to the point that they tried to kill her with I don't know what they did to her, some kind of brain injury she has, but she's been working through it. Anyway, she's speaking out about this. So why does this matter? Well, because there is so much gold in this world, you guys, and not just gold, it's precious metals. So the world we're moving into is a gold-backed and precious metal-backed society. So gold, silver, platinum, etc., etc. Revaluation means that they're revaluating the currency so it's equal all over the world. So that if you buy gold in the United States, it's the same price as it is in Ghana or, Zimbabwe or whatever. So that people start getting what they're so each country stops these small, beautiful, rich in natural resources, these countries are getting pilfered because their currency is devalued. So all of these bigger corporations and these people from currencies that are valued so much more can come in and just take their resources at pennies on the dollar. It's sad. It's been going on for a long time. We all just think of it as it's normal. It's not normal. This is being revaluated all over the world. That's going to be fair. But here's the thing, guys. I'm getting a little off track. It's hard not to. This is so multi-layered. But the most important thing you have to understand is that there's so much gold already built up that when we are born into a trust. Okay, you can look this up. I think it's called the straw man. #straw man. So look that up as well. But we are born with a trust. So what that means is that when you are born with like a $500 million trust attached to you. because there is so much gold in the world. There's 45 zeros behind the one. So however much money that is, there's 45 zeros behind the one. So each and every one of us are born with a trust of like 500 million or more. And so the trick with the birth certificate, now remember, I'm trying to explain very complicated stuff that I'm just beginning to understand myself. So look it up, you guys. The thing with the birth certificate is that they have phrased birth certificate in such a way that makes us their property. And they have been trading your birth certificates on the stock market because they are worth millions of dollars per person. They have been taking your money and loaning it out to you. So when you get a loan from the bank goes into your personal trust. They take that money out, loan it to you, and make you pay it back to them with interest. They fool us and they don't let us know about all of this because they make it confusing. They make us have to, we're all doing slave labor right now, trying our best just to keep our heads above the water, just to be able to feed our family and put a roof over our head. Who has the time to research this stuff, really? Who has the time to look this up and understand it, right? So here's what's going on, you guys. These good forces, which is the good forces in the physical and the spiritual realm, have been fighting really hard to bring us an entire new world where they open our eyes and reveal. That's what revelations in the Bible means. It means revealing the truth to humanity so that we can see what's going on in our actual lives. Now, what's going to happen, what I learned what they mean by clearing all our debt and stuff like that, because you've heard me say, well, we're not going to have to pay for housing and stuff. That's going to be humanitarian issues. And people are like, yeah, right. How's that society going to work? Well, let me tell you. So what I saw that they're going to do is that they're going to change the wording around how we call it the birth certificate. So it's going to be called something else. And when they change that, it frees us so that now we have access to our own trust. What that means is that if you're sitting there with a mortgage, a car payment, a credit card payment, anything that is like that, you can choose it. That is either a fiat banking system from the old fiat banking system, or that is a humanitarian issue. So even if you don't have a mortgage yet, but you want to buy a house, well, guess what? You can go into your bank or wherever it is. I don't know exactly how they're going to roll this out, but you're going to file the paperwork and you're going to declare that you get access to that trust. So your trust will then pay off your mortgage. Your trust will then pay off your car payment, your credit card payments. So the credit card companies are not losing out. They're getting their money. So is your mortgage. Your mortgage is paid. All of that kind of stuff will be paid. The society that we're moving into doesn't have tax. So when you earn money, when you go to, say you're earning $2,000 every, 2 weeks for a paycheck, you're going to be bringing home $2,000 every 2 weeks for a paycheck. You're not going to have to be paying your mortgage out of that and, gas and electricity, because they're also bringing in free energy. When you hear Trump up there saying that he's sending the ventilators all over the world, well, he slipped a couple times and he said what he's actually doing, which is generators. They're turning those 5G towers into 432 megahertz healing towers, for one. And two, they're sending free energy generators all over the world. You can back that up with the executive order that Trump did back at the end of April, I think it was, where he's revamping the entire energy grid of North America. Now, here's something really exciting. There is a new website that I stumbled upon that I'm so excited. I can't even speak straight about this one. It's called the United Allied States. And the web address, write this down because you need to go check it out, is uas.govt.agency. AGENCY. Go look that up. Because when you go through there, so they just put this up the beginning of June, I believe, and they have a whole bunch. It's talking about a new nation. It's talking about all of us coming together in the world in this agreement under the fact that we get our trust, right? So let me just, I started to explain that. So say you bring your paycheck home, your rent's already paid. Well, you don't have rent because your house is already paid. It's a humanitarian issue. Your food is already paid. Your clothes, all of that kind of stuff. You don't pay money for that. Well, what are you going to use your paycheck for? You know what you're going to use it for? Living. You're going to use it for living. You're going to do the things that we were meant to do, like starting that garden in your house that you wanted to start, or taking that trip with your family, because you know what? They're also implementing tax credits and stuff like that so that you can have access to travel and things that will help bring our energy back up to where we are supposed to be. We are not supposed to be living as debt slaves. You know, the reality is they had to work really hard to keep us living as debt slaves, to keep us believing this. They had to keep our energy down. They had to keep sending attacks your way to keep you feeling stressed, feeling separated, feeling alone, because that's the only way they win. It's like the movie Ants, you guys. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we are all in this. It is our world, in the sense that we're all in this together. We're not all in the same boat. Don't get me wrong. We are not all in the same boat. Some of us are in yachts and some of us are in little life rafts, bailing out the water, feeling like we're going to drown at any single moment, praying for this miracle to come. But I wanted to do this special broadcast for you today because I want you guys all to do your homework. Don't be sheep. Stop believing what they told you just because that it came out of that little black box. That doesn't mean that it's real. Go look up Turkey, you guys. So I've been telling you, I don't know, I think it was a few weeks ago, I told you that they're implementing this in phases and that this started in third world countries first. They kind of released a lot of this in the third world countries first. And I've started to see different news clippings and videos coming up of what's going on in Turkey. On the mainstream news media, you guys, they are showing the stars, the celebrities, the famous people, the presidents in the past, even the Pope, who all had the black eye. You see them all with the black eye, right? That's a thing that happens with adrenochrome. And it has a baby with panda eyes. I'm not going to describe to you how babies get those panda eyes, but it's through horrific abuse. That's all I'm going to tell you. And they have this on mainstream news media in Turkey because it's dark to light, guys. It's time for the dark to be brought to the light. It's time for the truth to be spoken about. It's time for all of us to stop being afraid of being labeled as tinfoil hat people, because like God told me last night, when this all happens, it is you who have been talking about the truth and telling people the truth that your loved ones are going to come to for answers. My people in my personal life believe me about what's going on because they've had to suffer through me telling them, I'll have a meditation and I'll be like, oh my God, this is what God showed me in my meditation. Listen to my voice goes all squeaky and annoying, but that's not how I picture I must sound when I'm constantly over and over and over again telling them about these visions that I'm having and these messages that I'm getting that make absolutely no sense at the time, but when they're over, when the message passes, holy, do they make sense. And there's been so many recently that I'm done caring about how I look. My only goal, I'm not here to make a fortune. I'm here to make a difference. That's kind of my motto. That's been my motto since day one. That's why I offer the THM Club for $15 a month. That's why I do so many free readings and stuff every single month. It's because the message is more important to me than anything. Making a difference, helping somebody else be able to crawl out of the same hell that I was in for most of my life and get to where we are now is what is more important to me than anything. So now that you understand that I want you to understand when you look up that uas.gov, govt.agency, you're going to see a brand new website about a brand new government. And it talks about the best way I can understand it is if you can, because I don't want you to think it's like socialism or all one world government. I don't want you to think of it that way. And when you read through it and you start really grasping what it's saying to you, you'll see it's a completely different reality. It's kind of like we're a Commonwealth country. I'm guessing it's kind of like this, that we're a Commonwealth country of the Queen. That's why we have a prime minister and not a president, right? Because we go by the same rule of law, parliament, et cetera, as they do in Britain, because we are under British rule. So I believe under that concept, we will all be under the same law, the constitutional law, which is so much fairer than some of the laws that we have in the books now. We will all be brought to a constitutional law, but we are still going to remain our independent countries. From what I was reading last night, I believe we're going to be able to be given a choice. We'll either be able to take our entire trust and go and live as a free human and just not be a part of the system if we want, or we'll be able to be a part of the system and earn more money through the system. And I don't know. It's so above my head financially that I'm still trying to piece it together. And if you have any kind of financial sense, when you start, or understanding, I shouldn't say financial sense, but if you have any wisdom, there we go, any kind of financial wisdom, education, if you're trained in finance in any way, shape, and form, if you start looking into this, you'll see. When you start looking into that website, you're going to see things on there, like it talks about living with no tax. So you will bring home your entire paycheck. You will only pay tax on new essential items only, or not new non-essential items only. It talks about how in the educational system, see right now in the education system, we put all the kids together and we make them all learn the same stuff at the same time. And if they can't, well, then we judge the child. And we have been in this same system for so long. The reality is, for example, I love him to pieces. I have a little nerd, my son. And in the best way, he loves to be a nerd. He loves being called a nerd. He is, he did physics 30, math 30, English, like he's all like academic, right? He was forced to take gymnasium in grade 10. He hates gym. It was torture the entire time. His time could have been well used somewhere else where his talents would have been more focused going forward than wasting his energy there. The old system basically puts a bunch of fish and a bunch of monkeys together, for an analogy, and then they judge the monkey by its ability to swim and the fish by its ability to climb the tree. In the new system, when you read through this website and their mission statements and their goals for what's coming up, it talks about how they want to be able to change the education system so that it works for every single child and that it's developed around each child's specific needs. Wouldn't that be refreshing? It talks about creating fair housing programs so that every single person has a fair and adequate housing. And then you see the pictures that they provide with this fair and adequate housing. They look like mansions. But I guess if we each have $500 million in trust or something like that, we can build whatever house we want. Not everybody wants to live in a mansion, but, it's possible. The point is, we will be able to live however we want to live together, making our communities better. Now, you got to understand that, way back when, and for most of my life, I just told myself the devil wasn't real. It's not real. Focus on what you want. You'll get what you want. God's real. Focus on him. In fact, it's not that I didn't want to believe that devil was real. It's that somewhere along the line, I think I just instinctually knew that not to talk about, think about, allow myself to even entertain negative beings in any way, shape, or form. And anybody who knows me will tell you that I don't usually talk about them very often at all. And here's the thing, they're very real. And these dark forces are very real, just like the spiritual realm is very real. You guys hear me up here every day talking to your loved ones. Well, if that realm is real, then these realms are real too. It's yin and yang. You can't have one without the other. So if you understand that, and you understand that those darker spiritual forces do not want you learning the truth. They don't want you feeling peace in your heart about the truth. They don't want you feeling calm right now and getting excited about what's to come. They want you freaking out. So they're doing everything they can in their power to freak you out right now, you guys. But I want you to know that when you turn your heart back towards God and you do a little bit of prayer and you don't allow yourself to feel scared or to play that game, and you don't allow yourself to even entertain that negativity for a second, and you focus on the solution, not the problem, the solutions come quicker than they ever have before, and beauty and goodness just start pouring in your life. The God is defeating the positive forces are defeating the negative forces so much faster and quicker than they ever have before. I know, because I was being attacked from those negative forces my entire life. And now all you have to do is just say your little prayer, believe with all your heart, and you'll see, literally, it'll clear away. Here's an example, you guys. How many times have I tried to talk about this online and my computer always dies? It flickers out, it'll stop, the audio is terrible, whatever happens. It didn't happen this time. I prayed over it before I I pray over it every time, but this time I asked even in a more specific and special way, because I understand what's going on now. So I'm specifically asking for God to bring in the protection against those spiritual forces. So I'm being very specific, and I think, when I look back over the live readings that I've been doing for the last few years, that's one of the most important things that Spirit has said since day one is be specific. Be specific in your prayers and be plenty. This is not a time to give up, you guys. This is not a time to give up and go, well, maybe it's not happening and I'm scared and I've had enough. Do not give up. This is the time to double down, because I'll tell you something. In my dreams, I keep having dreams. Something's going to happen. And first of all, there's some kind of sky event, because they keep telling me to look up at the sky. And in my dreams, I'm running out and I saw planes driving overhead. I saw planes. All my family ran out, but we weren't scared. It was like the planes were so low we could almost touch them. And everybody was in awe. And then when I'm going down this rabbit hole of learning all of this information, as well, there is something about a sky event as well. If you know who Q is, if you've bothered to take the time and actually go to qmap.pub or learn about what Q is, then you will see that a number of weeks ago, Q posted a calendar for us. And it was a 10-week calendar, and I think we were on week 2 or 3, or I don't remember. But the weeks I do remember how the weeks were divided up. There was 4 boom weeks. So boom, 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 boom. And during those weeks, we had revelations come out about connections and Antifa and the court stuff going on with the impeachment trials and the Russiagate and all of that kind of stuff. So all of those boom weeks. And then this week on their calendar is said to be a week to remember. My intel tells me that from the 2nd until the 9th, there is going to be a financial blackout. I'm not sure what that means. Now, this is in Canada. I've been told that Canada is the testing grounds for Gesara. Now, whether that's true, whether they're putting some of this information out a little bit ahead of time, doing a false start like they did with the Tier 4Bs, which is hard to explain, but I'll get into that later. Actually, I'll tell you right now, go to a site called gesarahelp.org. It is some type of cryptocurrency kind of site about Gesara, because some of our money, as well as our currency being changed to a gold-backed standard where it's actually backed by precious metals. There is also new cryptocurrency sites going up, but anyway, I don't understand all of that. But they do post regular updates in their notification sections that tell you about all of this, what's going on. The release of this and that in this country and that country, and this is a big thing between the Chinese and Trump actually releasing this. This is going on all around the world. Investment people that you tune into, they're seeing it. Everybody's starting to see it. So, I don't remember where I was going with that. In fact, I just felt angels come through and just go, calm the energy down. And here's the thing, you guys, do your own research. Look up The Hidden King of England. There's a movie you need to see as well. He goes through the illegitimacy of the royal family and how they're being, the queen has already abdicated. They've all scattered and left the castle. Of course, they're telling you a bunch of different reasons why and stuff, but the truth is that there is a legitimate king coming in, and it's not the pedivores that were there before. I'm sorry if you like the royal family, if this is too much for you, if it's hard for you to believe about that. But I'm just telling you guys, you don't have to believe me, but look up in Turkey, whether you believe it or not, within a few weeks, this is going to be on our mainstream media, because the way that calendar goes is, like I said, 4 boom weeks, boom, 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 boom. And then this week is called a week to remember. Then, like I said, I start getting the intel that Canada is the testing grounds for Gesara, that people high up in LLP Davis, that they have signed confidentiality agreements and whatnot, saying that they're not allowed to talk about this, but there's a financial blackout coming from July 2nd to 9th in Canada. Next week, Q has said next week is a week, he's titled it Dark to Light. So I'm imagining that's when these truths are going to be starting to be blasted on mainstream media. And then the next week after that is titled Blackout. And I think the reason that's where you guys have heard whispers of 3 days of darkness or 10 days of darkness or whatever. And I don't think it's anything like that, you guys. I think they mean a blackout of media, because these old school media people, these people, you don't want to believe that they're evil, and most of the actual reporters are not evil, but they're controlled, you guys. All of your media organizations are run by 6 corporations. Ultimately, look that up. I don't care what news you watch. It belongs to one of 6 corporations, and they are controlled what they are allowed to say and what they aren't allowed to say. And they have used the TV to program your mind, to program you what to think. That's why the world just accepted this pandemic. That's why everybody walked around putting a face mask on so easily. And that's because for the last 10 years, they've been predictably programming us with movies about pandemics and the end of the world and Armageddon. So when this actually happens, people just slap that thing on and go, yeah, I know what's coming. I've been prepared for this. Guys, do your research about the coronavirus as well, because come on. 99.45% survival rate, and having a mask is actually more deadly. Breathing in your own carbon monoxide like that is more deadly. Living in isolation away from our family and friends and disconnected. Like, think about the dark spiritual world. Isn't that like their paradise? I'm not playing that way. I don't live that way. I will not wear a mask. I'll tell you that right now. Especially when you research slavery and you learn that both the African slaves, the Irish slaves, yes, the Irish slaves, you guys, because the Irish were just as much slaves as the African population. In fact, their population at one point was 1.5 million when this all started in the Irish slave trade. And by the time the Irish slave trade was done, they had traded away 1 million people of their population. 1 million. Now that was only 100 or 200 years ago, I think, maybe even less. So look that up. But anyway, one of the symbols of slavery is actually a mask that goes around here. It symbolizes having no voice. It symbolizes being a sheeple. When you look that up and you understand that everybody's wearing these masks, but for what? Do you think that that's protecting you? Like, have you seen have you ever seen, put it this way, common sense, guys. Have you ever seen somebody who is working in one of those labs where they work with the viruses and all that kind of stuff? Are they wearing just a little paper mask over their face? Of course not. They're in these like head to body full, ET looking suits to keep them from getting the virus. So what people walking around in these little panty masks, that's not protecting you from anything. That's just saying, I'm a slave. I'm brainwashed. People like me, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to stand up here and tell you guys the truth. And if you don't want to turn it in, if you don't want to know the truth, turn it off. But I encourage you, don't be afraid right now. Don't listen to the negative spiritual forces that are trying to pull you down and trying to pull you away from the truth. Because this truth is going to hit us all. Huge. I don't know how it's going to come. I didn't know exactly how COVID was going to happen, but I knew something big was happening. Like I said, they keep telling me, look up at the sky. I keep getting financial blackout. I don't know. But I'll tell you something else. That UAS, United Allied States, that I think we're all going to be allowed to be a partner of if we want. the election for their president, for the president of this new nation, is on July 30th. It's not in November. It's in July. So whatever is going to happen is happening soon. And I want you all to be ready. And when it does, I want you to smile. I want you to get down on your knees and thank God, because this is the most incredible time to be alive in history. This is why you were born. Each and every single one of you listening has a special talent, has a special ability, has something that this world needs. And you can't be in a position to give back that beautiful and amazing quality unless you are feeling fulfilled and safe and in your own life. So we are moving into that state in this world. All of you. No matter what you're going through right now, we are moving into the state. And the only thing to fear is fear itself. The longer it takes for people to process this, because a lot of people are out there going to see this and go, oh my God, it's a new world order. But you got to understand that the bad guys for many years were predictively programming you to accept the new world order when it came. What I'm here to tell you is that that new world order was hijacked by God. I believe. And I hope you will too. Because when you do, you'll find peace. And I promise you, God will take care of you. He's taken care of me, and He's proved it over and over and over again. So get on your knees or just bow your head and start talking, start communicating. I know a lot of us have been, the bad guys, the people in control, have taken the Bible and have taken God and twisted them and turned them and made them look ugly and, tried to tear us away so we didn't believe anymore. But like He said to me 20-something years ago, you can feel Him in your heart. You can feel good or bad, good or evil. He's in the good. Tune in to what you want in your world. Get excited and start talking to your friends and family. Because once you understand the truth, you can't be afraid. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I will be back for members to do proper messages from Spirit on Saturday. But I really needed to do this today to get this out to as many people as I possibly could. I hoped it helped you all. God bless you guys. I'll see you soon.